Yellow Lawkers, welcome back to another video with me, Larissa. How fun are these? I feel like Britney Spears, a circa Hit Me Baby One More Time, maybe a little Baby Spice. I don't know. Also hashtag Free Britney. So today I'm going to be going over all the books I've read this quarter. So I have my microphone hooked up again and I'm talking a little quieter because I'm still in my Airbnb and they're downstairs and they're chatting. So I'm hoping they're going to be talking a little louder to not hear me speak because, again, I'm embarrassed of filming. Hopefully this won't be an issue in 2 months when I have my own place and I'll be able to get a lot more content out due to non-stage fright related things. So getting on with it. As we know, I like to read, and this is kind of like me really jumping into BookTube because I've done a few book reviews before. They've mainly been like self-improvement books, but now is the time to do the thing that booktubers do. Most of the ones I watch, like Noelle Gallagher, she does like monthly wrap-ups. That'd be like maybe 4 books. I don't know if that's enough. So I'm gonna kind of go over all the ones that I read for the first quarter, and I kept track of them in my bullet journal, which I got from Erin Condren. And yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, you would see my post about it, and it's so cute. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm pretty much just like writing all the books that I read throughout the year there, some vocabulary, the books that I want to read in 2021, and then I'm checking them off as I go. And then the quarter review, like favorite read, least favorite read, and how many books that I read total, which is incorrect at the moment because I read another one before filming this. Anyway, so my spread is typically like title, author, what format I read, whether it was a hard copy, Kindle, like ebook or audiobook, the genre, and when I started and ended, and then the rating as well, and then any notes and thoughts that I wanted. So let's do it. So here we are in the ones that I own and have physical copies of. There are a few obviously that are audiobooks, so I don't have a physical copy of those. And is there a couple ebooks? Yeah, there's a couple ebooks as well. I did end up buying one of the audiobooks like in its physical book format because I loved it so much, and that's going to bring us to our first read of the first quarter, which was Open Book by Jessica Simpson. I gave it a 5 out of 5 because it was phenomenal. It was so nostalgic for me. I was a big Jessica Simpson, Nick Lachey stan. Like, I have their Newlyweds TV show on DVD, and like I took it really hard when they broke up. Like, I know I'm happy they're happy, but still I loved them and I love her. And so yeah, I listened to this as an audiobook, and I think it was 18 hours long. I listened to it on my drive out to Utah, and it was so great, so great. She got into some great stuff, and I immediately was like, I'm gonna buy the physical copy because there's so much in it, and like I said, it's very nostalgic for me, so I will happily be rereading that one again or re-listening to it again because it was an experience. I get chills thinking about it. So Open Book was pretty much her discussing how she started and where she's at now and the struggles that she had along the way, such as, you know, having a very public breakup, alcoholism, going through some sexual abuse when she was younger, and just so much. And can't hype it enough. If you're not going to get the physical book, like, the audiobook was way worth it, and that's what somebody told me, and they were absolutely right. She reads it fantastically. Like, it's just so engaging and you can hear all the emotion. Anyway, sorry, I've been spending like 5 minutes discussing just this one book, and we have like 13 books to go through. So moving on. Book number 2 was This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins, and I read this in a Kindle format. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It's a cute little romance novel. Essentially, the female protagonist, Minnie, and there's male protagonist, Quinn, and essentially they were both born on New Year's Day, and their parents met in the hospital while giving birth. Minnie was supposed to be named Quinn, but Quinn's mom stole that idea from Minnie's mom. The story itself goes through New Year's Day for each one of them and kind of how they chance encounter each other but don't meet until they both turn 30. And then there's a lot of tension and romance, and somebody likes somebody and the other person's not sure, and it's really cute. I read that over New Year's time because obviously it says This Time Next Year and it's like a New Year's book, so I read that. It's really cute. Just like a really fun, happy read. Third book up, the last of the books that my friend gave me, and it's The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Obviously, paperback book, and it was really good. It was kind of long at a lot of times. It essentially was told through the perspective of death, and like the Grim Reaper kind of death, that guy, you know him. And he was essentially following this young girl who, she's the book thief, and it's not a surprise she steals books, so it's kind of why it's called The Book Thief. And it's set in World War II, and it was really interesting, and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of a little heavy at times just because of all the things that happen. It's obviously not a easy time in World War II. I will say that the ending had too many loose endings. Loose strings? I don't know what it's called actually. And I personally didn't get the closure I needed about the main character. It was so frustrating. Oh, but I mean, it wraps it up and you know what happens to her, but at the same time I wanted more details, that's all. But yes, very good. Loved it. Gave it a 4 out of 5. Book 4 that I read so far was Misunderstood by R.L. Matthewson, and this is a Kindle one. I pretty much only buy R.L. Matthewson on a Kindle because they're really quick reads. Also, they're really steamy romances, and I don't want anybody asking me what I'm reading, because even though I talk about this series all the time, I love it. Love the Neighbor from Hell series, probably one of my favorite ones. Anyway, give it a 3 out of 5. This was the young adult romance version, and it's not as steamy as the other ones, so I get what she's doing, but I didn't like it. Well, I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. It's still really cute. I love the way she writes, even though all of her novels are essentially the same concept because she follows the same family, so they have a lot of similar characteristics. I wrote that it's not really steamy and not really relatable to me at this time because I am a 29-year-old woman, and this was essentially about 13-year-olds, maybe? So it's kind of weird. And the ending was a cliffhanger, which I did not appreciate because usually all her books are not cliffhangers, and that's what I like about them, and this one was. So unfinished business, and I'm gonna have to read the next one when that comes out at some point. Book 5 is The Brightest of Dreams by Susan M. Mason. I read this book because I know this guy on the cover, so I had to support him. What can I say about this book? It is a Christian romance, and I like a juicy romance, and the most we got out of this book was like some tension and a few kisses here and there. But I will say that the relationship between the two main characters was very honest and secure, and they communicated pretty well, or if they didn't, they would quickly communicate in a healthy way in the next term, or like their next sequence together. So that was interesting to have see a stable relationship, a secure relationship, an honest one, instead of like always withholding information. So I will say that I gave it a 2 out of 5. It's not my style. Oh, I guess I could tell you what it's about pretty much. Another Quentin went to war. He was like the major supplier of the household after his father passed, and his mom was going through a rough time, and she was unable to continue supporting her, like Quinn's 3 younger siblings, and put them in an orphanage or something. And that orphanage was like, oh, well, you're gonna get shipped off to Canada because they're from the UK. And they shouldn't have been. And then those 3 kids got separated, and they needed, they were in a contract to pretty much be child labor. Quinn was like, what the heck? That was not supposed to happen. And so he had to go to Canada and try to find them. His love interest, Julia, is the niece of his house employer, because he's a carriage guy, the driver guy, his employer. And Julia ran away to Canada to care for one of her friends that was in the war. And anyway, her uncle was like, you need to bring her back. I'll give you land and a house if you bring her back safely, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so it kind of goes through their adventure, and Quinn and Julia meet and all that jazz. So yeah, that's that book. Next up, book 6, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I love Elizabeth Gilbert. I love Eat, Pray, Love. Actually, I've never read it. I've just watched the movie, but I'm going to be reading it. It's a terrible thing to say. Anyway, I really do like Elizabeth Gilbert. I was not impressed by this book. There was so much hype around Big Magic, and I think I thought it was something that it wasn't. I thought it was going to be a step-by-step, this is how you get creative juices flowing. I don't know. I thought it was going to be more type A. And so she talked through a lot of her personal creative process and kind of her history and things that she encountered, and kind of the woo-woo of how things are written, and it was super interesting. I did enjoy that aspect, and I loved her little stories and recounts about it. I felt like it was very repetitive, and I don't know. I don't think I was just in the right mindset to be in it, because my goal wasn't to be creative earlier this year, in the sense of in the sense of writing, in the sense of other things. I'm a creative person, just not, I don't know what I was expecting it from it. Maybe I'll read it again at some point, but I don't know. The cover, so beautiful. Yeah, definitely bought it for the cover. I had quite a few notes taken on it, so it's not like it was worthless. I rated Big Magic a 3 out of 5. Alright, next up, Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. And holy schmoly, guacamole. 5 out of 5. My yearly wrap up from last year for how many of the books that I read A Man Called Ove, and is it Ove or Uve? I believe it's Ove. They pronounce it Ove. It doesn't matter. We're talking about anxious people here. I loved it. I loved it so much. I don't think you understand. The genre is kind of like humor, and it definitely made me giggle at quite a few points. And like it starts off being like, this is a story about idiots. I took a lot of notes because there are quite a few characters in it, and essentially the book itself is about a bank robbery gone wrong turning into a hostage situation, and it's so good. There were so many twists, and I was like audibly gasping at some points and chuckling at a lot of other places. It was beautiful. I will say, trigger warning, it does talk about suicide quite a bit, so if that's a trigger for you, I wouldn't really recommend it, but absolutely loved this book so much. Highly recommend. Next up, book 8, Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, who is also the author of one of my favorite shows, Normal People, and like the book Normal People, obviously. And it's a novel, kind of like a romance. There's romance aspects into it, so we'll just call it a romance. Anyway, it's slow, and it's talking about, like, the characters are very intellectual, and it's not like the most gripping tale, but it's definitely, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Frances and Bobby get themselves involved and like be friends with this couple, like married couple, Nick and Melissa, and Frances starts to get really close to Nick, and Bobby is really close to Melissa, and also Bobby and Frances are exes. Also, Bobby's a female, and so is Frances, but they're still best friends. Frances gets really close to Nick, and they essentially start having an affair. Bobby and Melissa, it looks like they have an affair, but I don't think they ever did. I don't know. Anyway, it kind of goes through their affair. And the ending, like, I was gonna give it a 3 out of 5, but the ending, kind of got me. It bumped it up to a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the ending. It was very unexpected. Book number 9 was I Don't Know Where You Know Me From by Judy Greer, and I listened to this as an audiobook. And I will say the audiobooks, besides open book, all the audiobooks I listened to via Libby, Libby, and it's free. Like, it hooks up to your local library. You just need a library card. So, and I go through audiobooks very quickly, especially when they're shorter ones like the ones in here. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a person that buys audiobooks. The only reason I have open book was because it was my first free book on Audible. So, yep. All right. So, Judy Greer is an actress, and you may know her from so many different movies. 13 Going on 30, The Wedding Planner, 2.5 Men, 27 Dresses, is known for playing like the best friend, which is great. She's originally from the Midwest, which, yes. And she's like, I'm living the dream, because she's like, well, I'm not like a main star and people have trouble recollecting me from places. She's like, I've had steady work the entire time I've been in Hollywood. She continues to say like that she's lazy and kind of defaulted into acting. while going to acting school in Chicago, which I just thought was funny. Yeah, it made me actually and audibly laugh out loud. There was quite a few funny moments and I highly enjoyed it. Gave it a 4 out of 5. Book 10 is Mindy Kaling's Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me? And I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was really short, but essentially it's regarding how Mindy grew up and how she started in comedy. It was very relatable, but also very eccentric. She uses a lot of humor throughout it, a lot of sarcasm, which I personally enjoyed. It goes on, you know, how kind of opposite of Judy. She tells how hardworking that she was and that she was always really good at school, and she was just such a goody two-shoes, which I could relate to. And she would blow off like lower entry positions and would look at things through rose-colored glasses, but she made the best of things and then doors opened for her. And obviously Mindy Kaling is in so many things, but probably more well known for The Office. And then she also had her own show, which I loved, which is it Mindy Kaling? She played a veterinarian, which was pretty cool. And then she also wrote one of the shows on Netflix, and I'm blanking on its name right now too, but I loved it. Anyway, essentially loved this audiobook. It was a 3 out of 5. It was good. Book 11 is The Right Swipe by Alicia Ray. Could not put this down. Like, I think I read it in a weekend. It's a romance novel, obviously, and I love it. So like, love this cover. It's about Rhiannon, the main character, and she is a developer and owner of a dating app and named Crush. Also about Samson, an ex-pro football player, and he is a spokesperson for Matchmaker, which is like the old school, what is that one? Match.com. It's kind of similar to that, like there's a survey. Anyway, a while ago he went on a date with Rhi, and he ghosted her on their second date, and it was just, so it kind of goes through like their relationship, and also like Rhi is trying to purchase Matchmaker along with a bunch of other companies, and she used to work for a different app and it was a bad situation over there. Anyway, really good book, really loved it. And there's like book club stuff. Yeah, there's a reading group guide at the end, and I love when they have that. And then so me and my bestie Julia, because I bought this for her birthday as well, so we FaceTimed and had our little book club meeting. It was so cute. Anyway, gave that a 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. It was a really cute, easy read, very enjoyable. Couldn't put it down. Okay. Book 12, Behind Her Eyes by am I going through puberty? Like, why can't I talk? Okay. Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Pinborough. It's a thriller. And I watched the Netflix, because Netflix did a show based off this book. And they did a fantastic job. So I watched the show first. I didn't realize that it was a book, and then one of my friends was like, hey, you should read the book, it's really good. Spot on. The only difference was the main character Louise was blonde in the book, and I preferred the actress that they casted for Louise because she knocked it out of the park. Love her so much. Anyway, I don't believe I have any spoilers, but essentially the plot is Louise and David and Adele and Rob. Forgot about him. So Louise is the main character, but Adele is David's wife. David is a psychiatrist, Louise is his new secretary, because he just started working at the firm. And Rob is Adele's friend. And the plot is trying to figure out who is controlling whom is in David and Adele's marriage. I'll read this. I'll read the back because I'm so nervous I'm going to give something away. Louise is a single mom and secretary and is deeply embarrassed when she discovers that the man who has sweet-talked and kissed her in the bar on a rare night out is her new boss, David. And Adele, new to town and lonely, invited Louise for coffee after they bumped into each other on the street. Adele is David's wife. From the outside, David and Adele look like a picture-perfect husband and wife, but then why is David so controlling? And why is Adele so scared? As Louise is drawn further into David and Adele's orbit, she uncovers more puzzling questions. The only thing that is crystal clear is that something in this marriage is very, very wrong, but Louise can't guess how wrong or how far a person might go to protect their marriage's secret. If you don't want to read the book, just watch the show. Like, they did a phenomenal job. Unlike the one that I read last year, that show is nothing like the book, which was disappointing. But Behind Her Eyes, amazing. Yeah, if you watch the show, there's not much difference in the book. I don't know how many times I can say that. Anyway, gave it a 4 out of 5. It was really good. And it probably would have got a 5 out of 5 if I hadn't watched the show first, because I was already like, I know what happens. So the plot twists were not twisty. The last book that I didn't think I was going to get to, I finished it. Ahead of schedule. Go me. Book 13 of this quarterly review is The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. And she's the author of The Marriage Game, which I have not read, but definitely will now because I could not put this down. So this is the second book. You don't need to read the first book, I don't believe, in order to understand what's happening in the second book. I actually don't know. There may be like character crossovers because it is like a series, but as far as I know, you do not need to read the first book to read the second. Loved it. Loved it a lot. 4 out of 5 for sure. Essentially, so there's Daisy and Liam, and Daisy is a software engineer and she is very logical, she's very intelligent, and her aunties and father are like, okay girl, you're 27, you should be married and having babies, and she's like, I'm good vibing by myself. But they keep wanting to like set her up with all these people, and she's just like, ugh, I'm so over it. They can set me up with somebody, that'd be cool. Arranged marriage is looking real good right now. Liam Murphy is like her childhood crush. He was supposed to take her to prom, and yeah, he didn't. He stood her up. Anyway, 10 years later, he runs into her at a conference. He is a venture capitalist, and his grandfather passes away and leaves him an inheritance, which he wants very badly. But the only contingency is he has to be married before his next birthday. And he's like anti-relationship. They essentially make a dating plan because they both want to benefit from a fake relationship to get what they both need out of it. But do they form a relationship or not? Does it all fall apart? Maybe. It was really cute. It was definitely cheesy in a lot of places, but like the perfect amount of cheese. It was so cute. There were some steamy parts in this, which made me happy. I loved it. 4 out of 5 for sure for this one. Big fan. So that is a wrap on the first quarter of books that I read. I have no idea how long this is. Oh my goodness, it is a long video, so hopefully you're still around. If you want constant updates on what books I'm reading, I do post them on Instagram, as I have read them, and you can look under my books highlights if you want more recommendations. Or you could be my friend on Goodreads. I have no idea what my new username is, but it's probably Larissa Wilhelm or something to that effect. If you just search my name, I'm probably there. I don't know. I use that quite a bit. If you like these videos or any of my other videos, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you are notified when I upload new videos such as this one or any of the other ones to come on this channel. Remember to respect others, respect yourself, and do something amazing with your day. Thanks. Bye.